Kim Tae-ho sat in the cold metal chair and watched the alien creatures talk about his people like they were pets. The Galactic Council chamber was huge and dark. Bright lights shone down on the human section, making it hard to see the aliens sitting high above them. Kim Tae-ho had been Earth's ambassador for 5 years now. He was tired of this place. The reptile alien called Grixtal spoke in his rough voice. His long tongue flicked out between sharp teeth. The human colony on New Sol must be given up. The Vorthak Empire needs this world for their expansion. Humans have 72 hours to move all people off the planet. Kim Tae-ho felt his hands shake with anger. New Sol was home to 12 million humans. They had farms that fed half the human colonies. Children had been born there. Families had lived there for 3 generations. The Vorthaks wanted it because it had good soil and clean water. Speaker Grixtal, Kim Tae-ho said as he stood up. New Sol grows food for many human worlds. If we lose it, millions of people will go hungry. Surely the Council can find another world for the Vorthaks. The chamber filled with strange noises. The insect-like hive minds clicked their mandibles. The floating gas cloud luminari made whistling sounds that meant they were laughing. The water-breathing depth dwellers slapped their fins against their tanks. Grixtal's yellow eyes stared down at Kim Tae-ho. Lesser species do not question council decisions. Your people agreed to follow our rules when you joined 30 years ago. The Vorthak Empire is a founding member. Humans are still on probation. Kim Tae-ho felt heat rise in his face. Probation? We have followed every rule. We have given up 14 colonies when you asked. We have paid every tax. We have sent our young people to fight in your wars. What more do you want? A tall Vorthak stood up in the high section. His name was War Leader Krexthal. Red battle scars covered his green scales. Humans are weak. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are simple. You should be grateful we let you keep any worlds at all. Park So-jin, who sat next to Kim Tae-ho, touched his arm gently. She was Earth's smartest diplomatic planner. Her job was to find ways to keep peace. But today, her dark eyes looked angry too. Perhaps, Park So-jin said in her calm voice, the Council would like to see our latest production reports from New Sol. The food we grow there feeds not just humans, but 7 other species in this sector. Grixtal waved a clawed hand. The Vorthaks will grow their own food. Humans talk too much. The decision is made. 72 hours. Kim Tae-ho wanted to shout. He wanted to slam his fist on the table. Instead, he bowed his head. We understand. Speaker Grixtal. After the meeting ended, Kim Tae-ho and Park So-jin walked slowly back to their small quarters. The hallways of the council station were busy with aliens. None of them looked at the humans. To them, humans were just another weak species that caused problems. Their quarters had 2 small rooms and basic furniture. Everything was made for different alien body types, so nothing fit humans well. Kim Tae-ho sat on a chair that was too low for him. Park So-jin paced back and forth. This cannot continue, she said quietly. They treat us like animals. We give them everything they ask for, and they just ask for more. Kim Tae-ho rubbed his tired eyes. What choice do we have? Their fleets are bigger than ours. Their weapons are stronger. If we fight back, they will destroy Earth. Park So-jin stopped walking and looked at him. Are you sure about that? What? Do you mean? I have been watching them for 5 years. I have studied their technology, their ships, their battle records. I think there are things about humans that they do not understand. Kim Tae-ho frowned. Like what? Like how we always fix their problems. Remember the plague on Nexus Prime 2 years ago? Human doctors found the cure. Remember when the luminary crystal network failed? Human engineers fixed it. When the hive minds could not grow enough food, who taught them new farming methods? We did, Kim Tae-ho said slowly. Every time there is a crisis, they call for human help. But they never ask how we solve these problems so quickly. They never wonder why human solutions always work better than anyone else's. Park So-jin sat down, across from him. She pulled out a secure data pad and started typing. I am going to send a message to Admiral Lee Dong-woo on the Indomitable. I think it is time for Earth to know the truth about what happens here. What truth? That the Galactic Council needs us more than we need them. They just do not know it. Yet. Kim Tae-ho watched her type. What are you going to recommend? Park So-jin's fingers stopped moving. She looked up at him with a strange expression. It was not angry anymore. It was something else, something that made Kim Tae-ho feel nervous. Complete diplomatic withdrawal, she said. I am going to recommend that we activate Protocol Zero. Kim Tae-ho had heard of Protocol Zero in whispered conversations back on Earth. It was a plan that some people said existed, but no one talked about openly. If it was real, it meant cutting all ties with the galaxy. It meant humans going completely alone. Are you sure? He asked. Park So-jin finished typing and hit send. The message would take 6 hours to reach Earth through the quantum communication network. They want to treat us like we are nothing. Let us show them what nothing really looks like. That night, Kim Tae-ho could not sleep. He stood by the small window in his quarters and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there was New Seoul, where families were probably getting ready for bed, not knowing. They would have to leave their homes in 3 days. He thought about Park So-jin's words. Did the Council really need humans more than humans needed the Council? It seemed impossible. Humans were the newest members. They had the smallest fleets. They controlled the fewest worlds. But then he remembered something. Last month, when the Council's main computer system crashed, who fixed it? A human technician named An Jung-min. When the food riots started on Vorthak Prime, who designed the new distribution system? A human economist named Yang Soo-kyung. Maybe Park So-jin was right. Maybe humans had become so good at solving problems that no one noticed how important they were. Kim Tae-ho went back to bed, but he still could not sleep. He had a feeling that everything was about to change. Tomorrow, he would have to tell the Council that humans accepted their latest demand. But deep inside, he hoped that this would be the last time he ever had to bow his head to these creatures. In a few days, Admiral Lee Dong-woo would read Park So-jin's message. Earth's leaders would have to make a choice. Kim Tae-ho closed his eyes and wondered what choice they would make. The galaxy was about to find out what happened when you pushed humans too far. President Choi Min-ho stood in front of the biggest crowd he had ever seen. The human colonial assembly hall on Earth was packed with representatives from every human world. The meeting was being broadcast to all human colonies, space stations, and ships. 3 billion humans watched as their leader prepared to speak. My fellow humans, President Choi began, his voice steady and strong. For 30 years, we have tried to be good members of the Galactic Council. We have followed their rules. We have given up our worlds when they asked. We have sent our children to fight their wars. We have been patient and peaceful. The crowd was silent. Everyone knew something big was coming. Yesterday, the Council ordered us to abandon New Seoul. 12 million of our people must leave their homes because an alien empire wants their land. This is the 15th world they have taken from us. It will not be the 16th. Murmurs spread through the crowd. On screens across human space, families leaned forward to listen. Therefore, I announce that the Human-Terran Federation is withdrawing from all Galactic Council activities. We are recalling our ambassadors. We are closing our embassies. We are ending all diplomatic relations with Council species. From this moment forward, we will decide our own fate. The crowd erupted in cheers. Some people cried. Others shouted. With joy. President Choi waited for quiet to return. We do not seek war. We do not seek revenge. We simply seek the right to live as free beings in this galaxy. Any species that wishes to deal with us as equals is welcome. Those who see us as lesser beings are not. After the speech, orders went out to every human facility in the galaxy. Commander Yoon Ji-woo received her instructions aboard the transport. Ship determination. Her job was to bring home every human diplomat, trader, and civilian from Council space. All human personnel are to evacuate immediately, she told her staff. No exceptions, no delays, everyone comes home. But this evacuation was different from a normal emergency withdrawal. Commander Yoon Ji-woo noticed that everyone seemed to know exactly what to do. Ships arrived at pickup points right on time. People had their belongings already packed. Equipment was loaded efficiently and quickly. It was like they had been practicing for this day. On Nexus Prime, the Council's capital world, chaos began within hours of President Choi's announcement. Dr. Bae Hyun-sik was packing his medical equipment when his alien assistant, a luminary named Velsina, found him. Dr. Bae, you cannot leave, Velsina said, her light body flickering with worry. The hospital needs you. You are the only one who understands how to treat different species at the same time. Dr. Bae looked up from his packing. I am sorry, Velsina. My orders are clear. All humans must leave Council space. But the biocompatibility matrices, the cross-species medicine protocols, you designed them all. Then you will have to figure them out yourselves. 3 levels down, Engineer Nam Subin was shutting down the power grid control systems. She had rebuilt Nexus Prime's entire energy network 15 years ago when the old system kept failing. The aliens had never bothered to learn how it worked. They just trusted her to keep it running. What are the emergency procedures? Asked Thekral, a Vorthak technician. Nam Subin pointed to a thick manual on the desk. Everything is written down. Good luck. Thekral opened the manual and stared at pages of complex diagrams and mathematical equations. I do not understand any of this. That is not my problem anymore, Nam Subin said as she walked away. All across Council space, similar scenes played out. Human experts were leaving their posts. Systems that had run smoothly for years began breaking down. Trade routes that depended on human navigation started having problems. The first sign of real trouble came from the Hive Mind Collective. Their food production ships reported critical failures in their farming systems. The bioengineered crops that fed billions of Hive Mind drones were dying. Queen Voice Zikthara sent an urgent message to the Council. Human agricultural specialists created our current food strains. We cannot maintain them without their knowledge. Similar reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Luminary Crystal Network, which provided faster-than-light communication, started having random failures. The human engineers who maintained it were gone. The aquatic depth dwellers reported that their underwater cities were flooding. The atmospheric processors that kept them dry had been designed and maintained by humans. On Vorthak Prime, the military supply lines were breaking down. Human logistics coordinators had been organizing the flow of weapons and supplies for their expansion wars. Speaker Grixtal called an emergency council session. The chamber was in chaos. Delegates shouted at each other in dozens of different languages. "This is sabotage!" War Leader Krexthul roared. "The humans have damaged our systems on purpose." "No," said a quiet voice from the Crystalline Confederacy section. Shard singer Relkath rarely spoke in council meetings. "We have reviewed the human facilities. Nothing has been damaged. The humans simply left. They took nothing that was not theirs. They broke nothing. They just stopped helping us." The terrible truth began to sink in. For 30 years, while treating humans as an inferior species, the Council had become completely dependent on human expertise. Speaker Grixtal tried to contact Kim Taeho, but his communication request was denied. Instead, he received an automated message: "The Human-Terran Federation no longer recognizes Galactic Council authority. All communications should be directed to your respective military commanders, as humanity now considers Council space hostile territory." Security Chief Lim Hai-wan watched the chaos from her hidden observation post. She was supposed to have left with the other humans, but her orders were different. She was to stay and watch what happened next. The intelligence reports she sent back to Earth were disturbing. The Council was falling apart faster than anyone had expected. Species were blaming each other for the crisis. Some were talking about using military force to bring the humans back. But when they checked their military capabilities, they found more problems. Human technicians had maintained most of their advanced weapons systems. Human navigators had been guiding their fleets through dangerous regions of space. The Vorthak Empire tried to send a war fleet to human space, but half their ships broke down before they could even leave their home system. Their engines had been secretly maintained by human engineers for years. The fungal network discovered that their spore ships were dying in space. A plague that only human botanists knew about had been quietly spreading through their bioships. Without human treatments, entire fleets were rotting from the inside. Within 2 weeks of the human withdrawal, interstellar commerce ground to a halt. The complex trade agreements that connected hundreds of worlds had been negotiated and maintained by human economists and lawyers. Speaker Grixtal stood in his empty office and stared at reports of system failures across the galaxy. Food shortages, power outages, communication breakdowns, military equipment failures. He had spent 30 years believing that humans were a weak species that needed Council protection. Now he was beginning to understand the truth. The humans had not needed the Council at all. The Council had needed them. And now they were gone. Outside his window, the lights of Nexus Prime flickered as the power grid struggled without human engineers. In the distance, he could see smoke rising from the spaceport where alien ships sat broken and abandoned. The galaxy was falling apart, and it had only been 2 weeks since the humans said goodbye. Speaker Grixtal reached for his communication device to try contacting Earth one more time. But the device was dead. The quantum communication network had finally collapsed completely. He was alone in the dark, wondering what his people had done. 3 weeks had passed since the humans left, and the galaxy was dying. Captain Jang Woo-sung stood on the bridge of his cargo ship Lucky Dragon and watched the Vorthak interceptors approach. His convoy of 12 human vessels was carrying medical, supplies, and food to the outer colonies. They were not going through Council space anymore. They were taking the long route through the outer rim. But the Vorthaks had found them anyway. "Human vessels, you will stop and prepare for boarding," came the harsh voice over the radio. "By order of the Vorthak Empire, all human ships must return to Council space immediately." Jang Woo-sung looked at his first officer, Lee Mi-young. She was young but smart. Her fingers were already moving over the weapon controls. "Should I remind them that we are in neutral space?" Li Mi-young asked. "Go ahead," Jiang Wusung said with a small smile. Li Mi-young opened a channel. "Vorthek vessels, you have no authority in the Outer Rim. These are neutral trade routes. Humans belong to the Council," the Vorthak commander replied. "You will return or be forced to return." The three Vorthak ships moved closer. They were standard military cruisers, armed with plasma cannons and missile tubes. They should have been able to destroy Jiang Wusung's cargo ships easily. "Captain," Li Mi-young said quietly, "they are powering up weapons." Jiang Wusung nodded. "Show them what we have been working on." The Lucky Dragon's hull panels slid open, revealing weapons that definitely had not been there the last time any alien had inspected a human cargo ship. Energy beams shot out and struck the Vorthak vessels. But these were not normal energy weapons. The Vorthak ships simply stopped moving. Their engines shut down. Their weapons went dead. Their lights went out. "What did you do?" The Vorthak commander's voice came over the radio, but now he sounded scared instead of angry. "We disabled your ships without damaging them," Jiang Wusung replied. "Your crews are safe. Your ships will work again in about 6 hours. Consider this a warning. Human vessels are no longer easy targets." The convoy continued on its way, leaving the Vorthak ships floating helpless in space. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was meeting in emergency session again. But this time, the chamber was half empty. Several species had stopped sending representatives because their ships could not make the journey. The communication network was still down. So many delegates could not even call home. Speaker Grixtal looked terrible. His scales had lost their green color and turned gray. He had not slept well in weeks. "The situation continues to worsen," he announced to the remaining delegates. "Food shortages are now critical on 47 worlds. The Hive Mind Collective reports that 60% of their population is starving." Queen Voice Zikthara spoke. "Up," her mechanical voice crackling through a damaged translator. "Our food production ships are failing faster than we can repair them. The biological systems are too complex. We need the human specialists back. The Luminari Crystal Network is at 20% capacity," added Shardsinger Relkath. "Most of our worlds cannot communicate with each other anymore. Trade has become impossible." War Leader Krexthul slammed his fist on his desk. "Send the fleets. Force the humans to return. They cannot defy the Council." "With what fleets?" asked Deep Current Morglub from his water tank. "Half of our ships are broken. The other half cannot navigate without human guidance systems." Speaker. Grixtal had tried to hide this information, but now he had to share it. "We sent 3 battle groups to force human compliance. All 3 groups suffered critical system failures before reaching human space. Our warships cannot operate without human maintenance crews." The chamber fell silent. For 30 years, they had believed their technology was superior to human technology. Now they were learning that their technology only worked because humans made it work. Security Chief Lim Hai-wan watched the meeting from her hidden position. She had been collecting intelligence for 3 weeks now. The reports she sent back to Earth painted a picture of total collapse. The Crystalline Confederacy had revealed something shocking. Their population decline, which had threatened their species with extinction, had been secretly solved by human mathematicians 20 years ago. The humans had created a complex genetic therapy program that had been running in the background of crystalline society. But when the humans left, they took all the research data with them. Now the crystalline birth rate was dropping again. Within 50 years, their entire species would be extinct. The fungal network was in even worse shape. Lim Hai-wan discovered that human botanists had been fighting a deadly plague that attacked fungal bioships. The aliens had never even known the plague existed. The humans had been quietly treating it for 15 years. Now, without human treatments, the plague was spreading rapidly. Entire fungal fleets were rotting in space. Their spore ships, which could grow new vessels from biological material, were dying faster than they could reproduce. The most shocking revelation came from the depth dwellers. Their underwater cities, which housed billions of aquatic beings, were flooding because the atmospheric processors were failing. These processors maintained the air bubbles that let the depth dwellers live underwater. A human engineer named Ko Sung-min had designed the entire system 30 years ago. He had built-in safeguards and backup systems that the depth dwellers had never understood. Now those systems were failing one by one and nobody knew how to fix them. Billions of aquatic beings were going to drown in their own cities. Dr. An Jung-min sat in his laboratory on New Geneva, a human research station in the Outer Rim. He was reading the intelligence reports that Security Chief Lim Hai-wan sent back from Council Space. As director of the Terra Institute, he had access to humanity's most secret projects. The truth was even more complex than the aliens realized. For 30 years, while being treated as an inferior species, humans had been advancing their technology at an incredible rate. Every insult, every stolen colony, every humiliation had motivated human scientists to work harder. While aliens debated whether humans truly understood physics, human researchers had developed energy sources that could power entire star systems. While aliens built simple fusion drives, humans had created engines that could fold space and travel between galaxies. The abandoned human colonies were not really abandoned. Colonial Administrator Han Mi-young had spent 15 years placing hidden monitoring stations and automated defense systems on every world the humans had been forced to give up. Humanity had perfect intelligence on everything that happened in Council Space. More importantly, those worlds had been chosen carefully. Each one contained hidden research facilities and construction yards that the aliens had never detected. On Kepler 442b, which the Council thought was a failed farming colony, Planetary Governor Ko Sung-min was running the largest shipyard in human history. The aliens had no idea how strong humanity had really become. Communications Director Seo Jin-woo received hundreds of messages every day from desperate alien governments. They begged for human help. They offered trade deals, territorial concessions, and formal apologies. All of these messages received the same response. The Human Terran Federation extends an invitation to any species seeking equitable partnership. Council members are excluded from this offer. Within days of this message being broadcast, something unexpected happened. Minor species that had been oppressed by the Council began to respond. The insectoid miners, who had been forced to work as slaves for the hive minds, sent a secret delegation to human space. The avian scouts, whose homeworld had been taken by the Vorthax, asked for human protection. The amphibian traders, who had been banned from Council Space for being too primitive, offered to share their knowledge of unexplored regions. Dozens of species that the Council had ignored or mistreated saw an opportunity for freedom. Speaker. Grixtal tried desperately to hold the Council together, but it was too late. The luminary announced they were leaving the Council to seek human assistance. The Crystalline Confederacy followed. Even some Vorthak colonies began to rebel against their own empire. The galaxy was reshaping itself, and humans were at the center of it all. In his office on Nexus Prime, Speaker Grixtel stared at a star map showing the collapse of galactic civilization. Red zones marked areas where governments had fallen. Yellow zones showed regions with critical infrastructure failures. Green zones indicated places where order still existed. There were very few green zones left, and all of them were moving toward human space. Fleet Admiral Kim Dae-jung stood on the bridge of the UES Sovereign and watched space fold around his ship. The massive vessel emerged from its jump in a flash of blue light, appearing suddenly in the neutral zone between human and Council space. Around it, 200 other human ships materialized from nowhere. The aliens, watching from their broken monitoring stations, had never seen ships like these. The Sovereign was 5 kilometers long and bristled with weapons that did not appear in any Council database. Its escort ships moved with perfect coordination, their hulls gleaming with unknown metals. "Admiral," reported Captain Song Yu-jin from the communications station, "we are receiving over 3,000 distress calls from Council space. Food riots on Vorthak Prime. Complete system failure on the hive mind homeworlds. The crystalline Confederacy is reporting species extinction within 47 days. Admiral Kim Dae-jung nodded calmly. Any response from the Council leadership? Speaker Grixtal has sent 47 requests for negotiation, all marked urgent. And our response? Standard message, sir. Council members are excluded from diplomatic contact. The truth was finally becoming clear across the galaxy. For 30 years, humanity had been playing a much deeper game than anyone realized. Every humiliation had been calculated. Every surrendered colony had been chosen for strategic reasons. Every moment of apparent weakness had hidden growing strength. Dr. An Young-min reviewed the latest reports from his hidden research facilities. The Terra Institute had facilities on over 600 worlds that the aliens did not know existed. While publicly maintaining only 50 colonies, humans had secretly been developing technology on a massive scale. The energy cores that powered human ships were based on principles that Council scientists would not discover for another 1,000 years. The weapons that had disabled the Vorthak interceptors used focused gravity fields that could crush matter at the atomic level. The engines that let human ships fold space were powered by controlled black holes the size of marbles. But the most important secret was not technological. It was biological. Human intelligence officer Shin Bo-ra had spent 20 years studying alien psychology and social structures. Her reports had shaped humanity's long-term strategy. She had identified the critical weakness that would bring down the Council, their absolute belief in their own superiority. The aliens had never considered that humans might be more advanced. They had never questioned why human solutions worked so well. They had never wondered why humans could solve problems that stumped alien scientists for decades. Their arrogance had made them blind to the truth. On the world of Kepler 442b, which the Council thought was a failed human colony, planetary governor Ko Sung-min was preparing for the next phase of humanity's plan. The underground shipyards had been building for 15 years. Massive construction bays carved into the planet's crust contained vessels that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. "Governor," reported his chief engineer, Park Kwang-ho, "the final squadron is ready for deployment. 50 dreadnoughts, 200 heavy cruisers, and 500 escort vessels." Ko Sung-min looked at the tactical display showing human ship movements across the galaxy. Secret fleets were emerging from hidden bases on dozens of worlds. The true size of humanity's military was being revealed for the first time. "Begin deployment," he ordered. "It is time to show the galaxy what we have really been building." Communications. Director Seo Jin-woo was monitoring alien communication networks from his command center on New Terra. The intelligence he gathered painted a picture of complete collapse. The Galactic Council was not just failing politically. Entire species were facing extinction. The hive mind collective had lost 80% of their population to starvation. Their bioships could not produce food without human agricultural expertise. Queen Voice Zikthara had been sending increasingly desperate messages, offering to surrender entire star systems in exchange for food shipments. The Luminary Crystal Network, which had connected their civilization for 1,000,000 years, was now operating at less than 10% capacity. Most luminary worlds were completely isolated. Some had reverted to primitive technology levels. The depth dwellers were facing the worst crisis. Their underwater cities were flooding as atmospheric. Processors failed. Billions of aquatic beings were drowning in their own homes. Deep Current Morglub had sent a message offering complete submission to humanity in exchange for technical assistance. But the most shocking intelligence came from the Vorthak Empire. War leader Krex Thul, who had spent decades conquering other species, was now facing massive rebellions on every world. Vorthak military technology only worked because humans had been secretly maintaining it. Without human support, their war machine was collapsing. Worst of all, the Vorthaks were discovering that many of the worlds they had conquered from humans contained hidden surprises. Automated defense systems were activating across the former human colonies. Vorthak occupation forces were being systematically destroyed by weapons they could not understand or fight. Trade Commissioner Yang Soo-kyung was overseeing the formation of the New Terran Alliance from her headquarters on Liberty Station. In just 6 months, over 200 species had abandoned the Council to join humanity's new organization. These were mostly smaller species that the Council had ignored or oppressed, but some of the defectors were surprising. 3 Vorthak colony. Worlds had declared independence from their empire and requested human protection. An entire sector of the hive mind collective had broken away and asked to join the alliance. Even some luminary crystal cities had chosen humanity over their own government. The new alliance was based on completely different principles than the Council. Instead of hierarchy and dominance, it offered equality and mutual benefit. Instead of forcing weaker species to serve stronger ones, it encouraged all members to contribute their unique strengths. Former Council Speaker Grixtal tried one more time to contact the humans directly. He sent a personal message to President Choi Min-ho, offering everything he could think of: complete autonomy for human space, formal apologies for 30 years of mistreatment, and massive compensation in resources and territory. The response came from Ambassador Ryu Jae-hoon, humanity's new diplomatic representative. The Human-Terran Federation will consider negotiations with the Council under the following conditions: unconditional surrender of all claims to human territory, formal acknowledgement that humans are the dominant species in this galaxy, complete dismantling of the current Council structure. All former Council species may apply for membership in the New Terran Alliance as junior partners. Grixtal stared at the message in disbelief. The humans were not just demanding equality, they were demanding control of the entire galaxy. But as reports continued to pour in from across Council space, Grixtal began to understand that the humans were not making unreasonable demands. They were simply stating facts. The galaxy was already under human control. The aliens just had not realized it yet. Security Chief Lim Hai-wan sent her final intelligence report from Nexus Prime. The Council's capital world was being evacuated. Critical systems were failing faster than they could be repaired. The government was preparing to relocate to emergency facilities on the Vorthak homeworld, but even that might not be safe. Vorthak Prime was experiencing food riots and military mutinies. Without human logistics support, the Vorthak Empire could not feed its own population or maintain order in its military. The mighty Galactic Council, which had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, was falling apart in less than 6 months, and it was all because they had pushed the humans too far. Dr. An Young-min reviewed the final calculations for Project Renaissance. Humanity's secret research had advanced far beyond anyone's imagination. They had developed technology that could terraform dead worlds in months instead of centuries. They had created medical techniques that could extend lifespans to thousands of years. They had built ships that could travel between galaxies. But most importantly, they had learned how to build a civilization based on cooperation instead of domination. The new Terran Alliance would be stronger than the Council had ever been. It would include hundreds of species working together as equals. It would explore new galaxies and build wonders that the Council could never have imagined, and it would all be led by the species that the Council had considered primitive and weak. The humans had won not through violence or conquest, but through patience, intelligence, and the simple decision to stop helping those who did not appreciate their help. The galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after humanity's diplomatic withdrawal, the Galactic Council no longer existed. General Park Kwang-ho watched from the command center of Terra Station as the last Council ships limped away from Nexus Prime. The once mighty capital world was now a ghost station, its lights flickering as power systems finally failed completely. "Final evacuation complete," reported Chief Analyst Song Yu-jin. "All remaining Council personnel have abandoned Nexus Prime. The station will be completely uninhabitable within 72 hours. General Park Kwang-ho nodded and turned to look at the massive display screen showing the current state of the galaxy. What he saw would have been unthinkable 6 months ago. Red zones marked the collapse of the Vorthak Empire. Their homeworld was experiencing civil war as different factions fought over dwindling food supplies. The mighty war fleets that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were now scattered wrecks floating in space. Yellow zones showed the hive mind collective territories. 90% of their population had died from starvation when their bioships failed. The survivors had reverted to a primitive state, no longer capable of maintaining their advanced technology. Orange zones indicated the former Luminari domains. Their crystal cities had gone dark one by one as the quantum network collapsed. Most Luminari had simply faded away when they lost connection to their collective consciousness. Purple zones marked the depth-dweller worlds. The flooding of their underwater cities had killed billions. The few survivors lived in primitive underwater caves, having lost all their technological civilization. But the display also showed something new. Green zones were spreading across the galaxy like a growing plant. These were territories that had joined the new Terran Alliance. Over 300 species had abandoned their former governments to become part of humanity's new order. Trade Commissioner Yang Soo-kyung entered the command center carrying the latest membership applications. "General, we have received requests from 47 more species today, including 3 more Vorthak colony worlds and an entire crystalline confederacy sector." "What about the former council leadership?" General Park Kwang-ho asked. "Former. Council Speaker Grixtal has requested an emergency meeting. He is willing to discuss unconditional surrender terms. The irony was overwhelming. 6 months ago, Speaker Grixtal had been demanding that humans abandon another colony. Now he was begging for mercy from the species he had considered inferior. President Choi Min-ho was preparing for the most important speech of his career. The inaugural session of the Terran Alliance Assembly was about to begin on New Terra, humanity's new capital world. Representatives from over 300 species had gathered to witness the birth of a new galactic civilization. The assembly hall was enormous, designed to accommodate delegates from every known species type. Aquatic beings had water-filled sections. Gas-based life forms had specialized atmospheric chambers. Silicon-based species had high-temperature zones. But unlike the old council chamber, every delegate sat at the same level. There were no elevated platforms for superior species. Everyone was equal in the new Terran Alliance. Fellow beings of the galaxy, President Choi began his address. We gather today not as conquerors and conquered, but as partners in building a better future for all intelligent life. The translation systems carried his words to every species in their own languages. But unlike the old council translators, these systems worked perfectly. Human linguists had spent 30 years secretly studying every galactic language and improving communication technology. For too long, this galaxy has been ruled by fear and dominance. Strong species oppressed weak ones. Advanced civilizations looked down on developing ones. Resources were hoarded by a few while many suffered in poverty. Delegates from hundreds of species listened in amazement. Many of them had never heard a speech about equality before. In the old council, only the founding species were allowed to speak. The new Terran Alliance will be different. We will share our knowledge freely. We will help developing species advance without demanding submission. We will explore new worlds together and defend each other from threats. Director of Colonial Affairs, Zhong Hua Young, had prepared the most shocking revelation for the end of the ceremony. The true extent of human expansion was about to be revealed for the first time. Citizens of the Alliance, she announced, you have been told that humanity controlled 50 colony worlds when we left the Council. This was not accurate. We actually control over 1,000 worlds across this galaxy and several others. The chamber erupted in amazed murmurs. Even the human delegates looked surprised. The scale of humanity's secret expansion was larger than most of them had known. For 30 years, while publicly accepting council restrictions, we have been quietly building the infrastructure for a truly galactic civilization. We have explored regions of space that council maps mark as empty. We have made contact with species that the council never knew existed. We have been preparing for this day since we first joined the council. Massive display screens showed the real map of human space. It stretched across entire galactic arms, connecting distant regions, through networks of hidden outposts and research stations. The scope of human achievement was breathtaking. Every world that the Council forced us to abandon contained monitoring stations and automated systems. We have perfect intelligence on everything that has happened in former Council space for the past 30 years. We know which species can be trusted and which cannot. Admiral Lee Dongwu, now serving as Alliance Defense Coordinator, provided the military statistics. The new Terran Alliance commanded over 10,000 warships, most of them built in secret shipyards that the Council had never detected. Human technology was at least 50 years ahead of anything the Council had possessed. But the most important statistic was not military. It was social. In just 6 months, the New Terran Alliance had eliminated hunger on over 200 worlds. Human agricultural technology could transform barren planets into garden worlds within months. Species that had been starving under council. Rule now had abundant food. Medical advances shared by human scientists had cured diseases that had plagued alien species for millennia. The average lifespan of Alliance citizens had increased by 40% in just half a year. Educational programs developed by human teachers were spreading literacy and technical knowledge to species that the Council had kept deliberately ignorant. Most importantly, the Alliance had eliminated the caste system that had defined galactic civilization for 10,000 years. No species was considered superior or inferior. Everyone contributed according to their abilities and received according to their needs. As the ceremony concluded, a final delegation requested permission to address the assembly. Former Council Speaker Grixtal had arrived on New Terra with representatives from the 12 species that still remained loyal to the old Council. They looked pathetic compared to the confident delegates of the Alliance. Grixtal's scales had turned completely gray. His once proud posture was bent with defeat. The other former council members showed similar signs of their civilization's collapse. Ambassador Ryu Jae-hoon, humanity's chief diplomatic representative, met with the former council delegation in a side chamber. The contrast was stark. Ryu Jae-hoon looked healthy and confident, while Grixtal could barely stand. "We come to request mercy," Grixtal said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Our civilizations are dying. Our people are starving. We were wrong to treat humans as inferior. We accept complete defeat." Ryu Jae-hoon studied the broken alien leader with a mixture of pity and satisfaction. "The New Terran Alliance does not seek revenge, Speaker Grixtal. We seek justice and peace." "What are your terms?" "Complete acknowledgement that the old council was based on false principles of species superiority, formal apologies to every species you oppressed or exploited, acceptance of Alliance oversight for your remaining territories, and most importantly, genuine commitment to the principles of equality and cooperation." Grixtal nodded weakly. "We accept all terms. We have no choice." "You do have a choice," Ryu Jae-hoon said gently. "You can choose to become genuine partners in building a better galaxy, or you can choose to fade away clinging to old prejudices. The Alliance will welcome any species that truly embraces our values." After the former council delegation left, President Choi Min-ho stood on the observation deck of New Terra's Capitol building and looked up at the stars. 6 months ago, humans had been the galaxy's punching bag. Today, they were its leaders. But the most satisfying part was not the power or the revenge. It was the knowledge that they had built something better than what came before. The New Terran Alliance would explore new galaxies together. They would solve problems that no single species could handle alone. They would create wonders that would last for millions of years. And it had all started with a simple decision: to stop accepting treatment as lesser beings. The galaxy had learned what happened when you pushed humans too far. Now it would learn what happened when you treated them as equals. The future was going to be magnificent. Communications Director Seo Jin-woo monitored the news broadcasts spreading across Alliance space. The story of humanity's rise was being told in hundreds of languages on thousands of worlds.